what we did last time. We developed a little bit on our application. What we completed was the sliver for our application, which means when we're scrolling up and down, the sliver is in place and the top part will be smaller, or when we scroll up.
Exactly.
Yeah. And the second thing what we built was the recipe of the day. That means the container with the name of the food or whatever, or flour in this case we have in our application. And the next task would be to go further, and we thought to build the categories. Yeah, right. Exactly. The categories, and after that we will start with our search box.
Yes, with the search box, or we can maybe work with the provider pattern and create the SQL flight, for example, that we have a database where we can store our information, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so...
Good idea. But you go further, guys.
Is that okay for you?
Is it okay if we go further like that? By the way, I am 15 years old and had created and published Android and iOS.
Congratulations, Amy.
Yeah, amazing. Great.
Alright, but as you already mentioned before the stream, you told me that it would be a very good idea to create one widget for this part here, right? Because we have already, or we see here multiple of these widgets, right, that we will use for the categories. So it would be a good idea to extract that one. So how can we do that? We have there multiple ways that we can do here, right? First of all, we have to find, because it is already a week ago.
Yeah.
You can try to help him, I think.
Yeah, you can send your question if you want,
yeah.
And we can try to help you here, or if it's not possible, probably we can answer your question in Twitter or somewhere else. Just post your question and we'll try our best.
Yeah, so what I will try is I want to try to find this container with that nice little Flutter inspector on the right side. And with that, we have the possibility to directly find the problem or the part where we want to work with. And here we have it, we have a stack, and inside of that stack we seem to have a container and a padding. And that looks like the whole element, because that stack seems to be the whole thing, right? So it is part of the sliver list, and the sliver list has a text, and then the parts, right? So text, size box, and stack. And now what we want is, more or less, we want to have this stack as a widget, which has different sizes, right? Different width parts. Is that correct?
Yes, you are right. That means the text box is not the part of our widget which we want to extract, right?
Correct, yes. Because I think that text up here should be separated. It's something different, right? We just want to have this box here.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do we do that? We have multiple ways. Do you know one?
Yeah, I would say the easiest way would be if you just click the right click on the stack and try to extract it. But I think you should go to the Flutter outline.
The Flutter outline? Oh.
Yes.
Why is it not visible?
It's somehow, I don't know, I had this problem more often. If you click just on your IDE and close it and open it again, it somehow works after some tries. Yeah. Just go for that.
Wow.
Or if you can put it this side.
Okay.
Oops.
It sticks somehow with my mouse. Alright. So let's try it. Okay.
Oh.
That's weird. The outline don't work. Maybe I have to close the application complete and start all over.
Can you open again the Flutter Inspector and change the window again?
To the Flutter Inspector?
Yeah. And just Flutter Inspector and click on the code, maybe?
Yeah, but I think now it's starting up the application.
Yeah.
And after that it will catch the...
Works better.
Attach the process, hopefully. Let us see. No, it's still empty. Interesting.
Did you have this problem before?
Not really, no. But I don't use the outline, to be honest, so much.
So if you have any other option, Max, introduce us.
Okay.
How would you do that?
How I would do it is I usually do it by manual labor work, I would say. I mark that whole thing where I have the whole place inside. So we have this stack. And for this, we want to create now a widget, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what I mostly do is I create the widget right in the same file as long as we are working on the screen, and later I create all the files that are necessary.
Okay.
So for now, we want to have a stateless widget here because I think the state should be managed on the level top or later from the provider. You can see. And now what we want to have is we want to create that widget, right? How do we want to name it? What is a good name for this card? Could be like a recipe card, or I like the borders, like a wave border card or something. What do you think?
I think the additional cards that you want to create gonna be category cards.
Yes, but this
But
card
this
is the
one
recipe
is
of the
the
day.
recipe of the day.
And
Maybe
if we want to reuse it later, what makes it specific? So it is just a card at the end.
the end recipe card or
I stick with the wave border
the wave
card
border card.
right now,
Okay,
because
it's more general.
and we know what it is inside, so we can use it for more than just the categories, right? So now it's getting a bit red. That is because we access up here that two variables that are now missing, right? So one is the unused image URL that we will take with into the stateless widget because it can live here. And must be immutable, so it maybe makes sense to have that part in an even and constant file. So what I will do for that is I'll create here in the lib folder
Hamish, we read already your message. I think actually I thought it's a technical question that we will try to help you, but actually we want to code together at this moment.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I did is now I created a constant file down here that I imported now because all the consts I want to manage here so that we have one place where all the different constants for our visualization is inside. So if we want to access that, we have one general file therefore.
Okay.
So, and now we have the possibility here. Now we have here is mobile. So we checked the different screen sizes with this responsive layout.
Yeah.
And I will just take that with for now because I think that is mobile is used in multiple places here.
Yeah, it's right.
So one idea is that we just give that inside or use it even here inside itself. Because it's immutable, we have to bring it into the build function. So we want to re-render that all the time whenever whenever the build function is triggered, we want to check if it is mobile.
Did you cut it or did you copy it?
I copied it in that case, so that we have it multiple times. Of course, we can pass it down or something, but I think for now that is fine just to understand how the card is working, that we can extract it properly. Okay, so now down of our sized box, we want to have this wave board card, right? So how I work further is now we have some properties that are changing according to that wave, right? For example, that text pancakes, we have to make that changeable, right? So we get on here to our widget and create the text for that. So how would we call that? A card with a card text or something?
It's gonna be a string.
Recipe card.
Yeah. Name.
Recipe card name.
Yeah, I would say. And this is a string.
It's a string, that is correct. Yep. So now it's getting red because that class is stateless, and as we know, that has to be immutable. And now we have to create a constructor for this final variable.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect. So with that, we have the constructor here. And
thank you very much.
So and now with that constructor that we create, our stream gets a lot of issues, I think. I'm not sure what is wrong today. I think the internet is again broken. Check the health, Well, I hope it works. I don't know.
If
so much.
there is any problem, please let us in the comments below.
Yeah.
Oh no, I mean in the chat. That we know.
We get always warnings here from YouTube, so that's why we are a bit careful. Okay.
Good.
But anyway, so now we can change the card status always whenever it's getting rebuilt, right?
Yeah.
So one option is, and now we have that pancake somewhere hard coded,
Yeah.
and we can replace that with the recipe card name.
Yeah.
And here we have now the option inside of our wave border card. Can it be empty? No. So
No.
it crashes now. So
Okay.
will it be a possibility that this is empty in the future? We don't know, right? For now, we want to have always a string inside.
Yeah, actually, yes.
So my idea would be that we say, if this is an empty string, that we set something inside, at least an empty string, so that it doesn't crash completely if we forget
Can we
that.
check the null? If it's null or something like that?
We could do that, yes, with an assert and then
Yeah.
fail, but it would result in the same problem. We would always get a red screen whenever we use it.
Okay.
But I
So
think
it's
what we
better.
can do is, if it's not set with a null, that we just give an empty stream, so we have here an empty card inside.
Okay.
So now we want to set that to our pancake, right?
Yeah.
So pancake, even though it is more honey at the moment. Okay,
Yeah, go for it, Max. I will
and
just check
what
something
is
here.
the next part that we can do? Now we extracted all of that,
Mm-hmm.
and now we want to go further with the categories, right?
Yeah.
And we have here our sliver child list delegate.
Mm-hmm.
And what we want to do here is we want to create a new sized box to have another height, right?
Mm-hmm.
We use again the same method here. I think we can even extract that.
Or what we can do also is maybe to extract the size box widget completely and use it as a space between the different widgets.
We can do that, yeah.
Oh,
So,
Be careful.
Be careful, yep.
You marked everything.
Yeah, so what I will do is outside of the build function in that case, right? Where is it? Here. We want to create something like that. Var, how do we call it? Space space box? No.
Height?
Height box? Yeah.
Yeah.
For now, will be good. So, and of course it has to be final because of reasons. But now we have the problem that is mobile screen is of course first arrivable in the build function. So what could we do? We could, I have an idea. We come to that in a second, Hamish, because for the categories we will need that, I'm sure. So what we can do is we can create a function for that. Instead of just giving back the height box, we just call it a placeholder or space placeholder, which returns a widget.
Ah, okay. We can, space or height placeholder.
Or height placeholder, something like that. Yep.
Always better.
So, and we will receive the is mobile screen as a boolean, right? So, and what we will do is we take this method and where we want to use it in that part here, we can just call it. Like
Okay, and we
and
have
we
a
have to
parameter.
give that parameter exactly mobile screen. Okay,
Ah, okay.
does it work? So we have an error somewhere. Ah, yeah, we forgot
The
about
semicolon?
this one. That's fine. And now we have height. Ah, yeah, sure. So this part is also a height placeholder, which gets the same parameter. And now we want to have the next text. And this text is categories. Voila. And now what we can do is, because that text style will be most likely the same, right?
Yeah.
It is also a const, if we remember, right?
Yeah.
So we take that const and we can bring that also in our constant file that we have up here. So how do we call that? That would be our headline first or something? Or?
What did you call it?
I called it headline. Headline first because it is our, it is a headline.
Dashboard
here.
headline?
But what I think right now, can we not use the theme for that? So we have the theme of context, and the theme should give us already some font styles or something, right?
Yeah, but that was
it theme?
Font theme or something, wasn't it?
Theme data of context? No. Theme of context dot text selection. Text theme.
Text
Here we
theme.
go. And then we have the headlines, the different ones. I think if we take for now headline 1, we will receive something. Extremely large text, very, very large text. Okay, so let's see how big it is. Okay, that is really extremely large. So let's try it with a 5. Yep,
Which
I
is
think
much
that's
better.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So and with that we are not hard coded here anymore, and we can create an own file for the theming later. The same thing we do for the second text now.
Yeah.
And we can see it works perfectly like a charm. Then we create our height placeholder, is mobile screen. And with that, we have now the possibility to create a list view that is horizontal aligned, right? And for each, we want to create such a wave border card. Is that correct?
The only difference between the card gonna be the width of the card, which we can also define it as a parameter, maybe.
Yeah. But yes, we can try that. But for now, I just want to create a list view. And what do we want? We want to build a, right? We can.
The separator gonna be like column, or?
Yeah, no, they are the same, but separated creates a space in between. Hey, Samet, how are you?
Hi.
How's your music going? And with the separated, we have the possibility to create spaces between the elements that are created.
Okay.
So if we have a card, and then we have a separator in between, and we created a second card. We create a space between, we create a third card.
Okay, and we can, I think, define if it's gonna be horizontal or vertical, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, I think so. So I, for my part, would like to use separated here, and you see already it's getting quite reddish. So.
Do you want maybe to close the project
that
structure?
sounds like a good idea. Yep.
Yeah.
So, and what we can do here is to have the axis. No, is it not the axis? Because now it complains that we don't have an item count, right? We don't generate anything, and we don't have an item builder. And that is mostly not a good idea. So, scroll direction is what I searched. So
it's gonna be
that will be horizontal.
Yeah.
So what do we want to create? So for each element that we create, we get a context, and after that we create.
We will create our wave border card, right?
Exactly, the wave border card. Recipe name, and we don't have to set that because I created already the thing. You know, the I created that empty string whenever we create the wave border card, so we can directly see the result.
Okay, and why is it still? Why is it red? Because of the index?
Correct, because the item builder, if we take a look, it is a builder, of course, so that's why we get a context returned, but it also has that item in front, so there wants to be more, right? In that case, we get every item that we will create later, and for each we will get the index. So if we jump inside, I can imagine. Do you still under lockdown? Is this still a thing? Because we are from Germany, so we probably are pretty good with that.
So Max, for the index, we need the number of the items in the list?
No, the index returns us the amount of items. So for example, if I enter here item count 3, it will create 3 of these wave border cards.
Okay.
Oh, we have perfect weather here. We're
I think
30 degrees or something.
Yeah.
And now the separator builder is also again a builder, which returns us, creates us also a builder with context, but it creates us a separator. So context, and it returns again a widget, I think. So if we jump here inside, what does this? It has also an index, so we could say something like, we don't want to separate always. We want maybe just to separate all the third times or something like that.
Hi.
Hey Sanjay, how are you?
Okay, so don't forget to give also the index.
Yeah, perfect, exactly. So the index. And what we want to achieve is, because if we take a look into that, in between we have always a little bit of space, right? So let's have a look. 20 pixels is it exactly. So how could we have a 20 pixel space? I would say by a sized box of the width of 20 right?
Yeah.
.0. And as you see, somehow it's getting white, and we don't get an error anymore. But what we can see here is that we most likely have somewhere a render problem.
Was given unbounded height.
The horizontal is right, or?
Do you want me to make it run the hot reload, or do you think
I have to make it bigger, especially for everyone, so that the guests can look. Cool. So we get that the viewports expand in the cross-axis to fill the container constraint. Okay. Yeah, we heard you that we improved the size, the text size, so I hope we can read it much better this time.
And if there's any problem, please let us in the comment that we can know what the problem is and we can improve it. Otherwise, we don't know it and we just ignore it without to know that.
Yeah, but it's getting better. I think we get better every time with you guys. I mean, that's perfect. It makes a lot of fun. So, but this time we get now unbound height. And what I think is because of the sliver, it tries to, the wave border card could take all the space, I think, right? That could be the problem. I'm not sure with that, but it has a stack inside, you know?
But the problem is coming with the category cards, or? We didn't have the problem before.
The category cards are the reason, but if you remember, we use for every card that we want to create, we create a wave border card for that. And this wave border card creates us a stack. And the stack is nothing else than an unbound box, right? So it has extremely much space, and I think that is the problem at the moment.
Actually, we could or we can use the XD to Flutter plugin, but probably you watch the video from Max.
Yeah, so it was possible, but the problem with that is, for example, we want to have a sliver here, right? So that is not that easy possible, right? So we get like boxes around everything, but we don't have the possibility to create like a sliver or specific UI elements that we want to have. So that's why we are still here and creating everything with you together.
Instead of using the Adobe XD plugin.
Yes.
For Flutter. Yeah. Okay, Max, let's continue.
Okay, so I think the list view has the problem that this part here is unconstrained. So this has no constraint. So what I will do is, just to try it out if I'm right, I will create, was it box constraint? No, I think there is a constraint container or something. Constraint box, and it has a child. And the constraint box has the benefit that we can pass by constraints. And what are constraints? Well, they block the things that are inside of these constraints to maximize in all directions. So we can have a max height in that case from a certain amount of pixels, which we also can check against with the is-mobile screen.
Yeah.
So we can say something like that, and then say, for example, let's give it 150 pixels and 200 if it's getting bigger, just to see if it works. But we still get the error. So that means...
The horizontal viewport is the problem, Max.
Yeah, but horizontal is like that, right?
And you gave the max height.
Yeah, it was given an unbound height, or not? So I thought that is the part.
Viewport expand in the crosshair.
Yeah, I think there are some limitations also with shadows and everything in the Adobe XD plugin. But hey, it's getting better. Even that it is possible is really great. So, and what is that now? I'm still not completely sure with that. Okay, it's coming from here, which is for sure. So,
how about if we wrap our list views separated in the constraint box?
We can do that. So we remove it here and wrap our list view by the constraint box. Up. So, oops. And now I create the constraints here, box constraints, and we say tight. Wait, let's see if that works. Nope. What do we have here? Tight 4, tight finite. Let's try tight. And for the size, I use the media query .off dot size. So that is the size of the window. Oh, look at that.
Oh, much better. Okay.
And now what we have is a weird behavior of that, but
But we
can
have
see
the
we
list.
can scroll. So that the question is now, why is it so big? Because, and that is the part where I said media query of context size, it will take exactly the whole screen.
Ah, yeah, okay,
Yeah?
I see.
So the constraint is the whole screen, which is perfectly fine, but it's wrong, right, for our use case. This box width is more or less our part. Where comes the width of this box? Does this wave border card has a height set? Oh, yes. Perfect. So because if we know that size and we know this one has only a 200
so
height,
we can use the same.
we can just use the same. Instead of saying we make the box constraint tight, we can just say we take them and
we can
and create a max height of 200.
Ah, yeah,
Voila.
okay. Wow, perfect, Max. Okay.
Yes. So exactly. So what we can see is the width is now a problem because these cards are the whole screen, right? So like we wanted it for the recipe of the day.
Yeah.
But now we want to actually manage to make them a bit smaller, right? So if we take a look into Adobe XD once more, we can see that one is height 200 and width 200. So with that information, we can go back. And to make our designers happy, we can say that this wave border card gets a new parameter. Which one?
Which gonna be a double for the final or integer?
Yeah, let's give it a double. I think that's perfect.
And it's gonna be the width, card width,
card width maybe.
And maybe it's better.
But I think width is good enough because we know already that we are inside of a card. We are already
the only
in the
width
wave
is gonna be okay.
So let's give it a width, right?
And instead of the hard-coded width that we...
What would be the default width?
Oh, good question. Should we make it depend on the device?
On the device? No, not really. I would say that we should give it just a default width that it doesn't break the code when we just leave it empty.
So probably 100.
For now, I would take 200, and I say why? Because I think we should or 400, so that we keep the old number as a default for now.
Okay.
So that we don't have to change that, but we can just change the part where we are currently working on.
That means if we don't give it any number for the width, it takes the 400 as a
Correct,
default.
exactly. So just to make our code a bit more secure.
Great.
It's pretty easy to use that actually, to have a for loop. I can maybe make a short exchange. Yeah, so just to help you.
Because the Hamish is asking about how we use the for loop.
Yeah, inside. So I create just a widget list with a list of different text widgets, right? So first widget and the second one with a second widget and so on. So we have here a list of different widgets, right? And let's say we have before our or inside of our scaffold, we have that custom scroll view, right, with slivers and everything. And now what we need is a list where we want to enter our stuff. So for now, I take that sliver list, right? So we have all the different parts here aligned. And what we can do is when we have here already a list of different widgets, right? And if I take them out for now, oops, that was a mistake. Command X.
Do you want it first maybe commit it?
No.
No?
It's okay. Yeah.
Okay.
No worries. We can go back all the time.
Okay.
So, and now I comment the old things. Or let's say we take this list. That's maybe an easier, maybe not. Okay, yeah, no, sorry. Where are we? Here. So I comment the whole thing.
Make this part smaller.
Yes, I can do that. Voila. So, and now our sliver list is empty, right? But we still have to give some children inside of this sliver list delegate. Children? Is it wrong? Ah, no, it is just the first parameter, a list. Okay. And what we can do now is, because we get this list here, we could say something like for. Oh, that's no problem. A grid using rows and columns with nested for loop. Yeah, I think with the sliver list it's too complicated to explain. Let's create somewhere a column. I think that's better. Sorry for everyone else, but I want to solve this mystery.
Do you want maybe just answer the question separately?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But still, what I want to do is, for now, I create just an easy file. So for loop example .dart, and inside of here we just create a stateless widget that we call example. And inside of here we want to have a column, right? So this column contains children, and this has a list of widgets, right? So let's assume we have a list of strings, for example, right? So first, second, and so on. And he wants to make a for loop. Yeah, so what we can do is
what we can do is
you can always contact me via Twitter. I think that's the easiest part, Amish. So, but if we have now a list of these strings, the easiest part that we can do in this children is just make a map of them. So we get an element, and inside that element we have a text with the text inside, and say to list. So that would be the easiest way. I think that is perfectly fine, valid code. And I fix quickly that part here where we have the error. Yeah, there is a semicolon missing. And I can remove that for now because that's good. And inside of our main, I change now just to that for loop example. Or example, I think I called it. Example, exactly. Example, good. And we have to restart the app. And we have to surround our column with a scaffold.
Yeah.
With a body. So, and we center maybe the axis, just to let it see. Center. So as you already can see, the texts are getting with that mapping directly created. So I think that is the easiest way that you can use. If you want to have a for loop though, I'm not even sure if this is possible, but we can take a look. Here we go. I think that's text, column, for in, easy. Let's take that one. And we put it here inside. And what do we see? An error. Expected an identifier, expected to find, yeah, take it. Is that not possible?
you have here the
that is
the
inside of a
children
list. That is
child.
inside of a list.
Yeah.
Okay, I see. So we have to do something like that. Good.
and it's gonna
And
be
text
instead
will
of
be
this.
list, right?
Yeah.
So, and it should do exactly the same. So this is how you use a for loop, right? You just create a list surrounding it, and then you write for inside with the list that you want to iterate over. And after that, you put the string where you want to have it, for example. And you can do that with all kinds of stuff, right? It doesn't have to be a string.
What's the best way to save authentication credential of the Firebase authentication that user only log in at once and after restarting app automatically log in? So guys, these are really great questions, but I would say it's gonna be outside of the
Yeah, why?
our
I mean, that's a war or
application
not?
and things. Otherwise, we are not gonna be finish our application ever, Max.
That's true, that's true.
But we can go further for 1 hour and work
Maybe
a little bit more on our application, and we'll come back to your question at the end.
Yeah, I
Okay?
will put it on the bucket list, maybe. That is a good part. Then
I will have it here, Max.
you have it there.
I will,
Perfect.
yeah.
Good. Okay, so that is the part. And now we want to go to our dashboard screen. See it. Okay, so now we have that. We have this part, and now we want to have constraints for this container inside, right? We have the wrong import here. That's okay. Good. Okay, but we wanted to make that smaller, right? For
Yeah.
all the others.
We
So-
wanted to change the width
Yes.
of the container.
correct, for the item build, right? So we have the width here and say it is maximum of 200. So, interesting. What is happening? We have now a lot of space in between.
So
Maybe I have to restart the app, I think.
Okay, so go for it.
Yep. No, still a lot of space in between. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Is the space of 20 that high? Let's try it with 5.
What I can imagine is, Max, maybe we have in our wave border card some padding.
Ah, you think? That could be. Let's see.
We have a container, decoration. We have a tag. Can you please make
Yes.
the bottom part a little bit smaller?
Okay.
Yeah. And here we go. We have some padding.
Do we? Ah, down here we have some padding. Is mobile, but it's bottom. And
Yeah,
here we
this is
have
the
one that
bottom.
is left. So most likely this is the issue. Let's try and take that out. Let's rebuild. Hot reload is through. Doesn't change anything. That's sad. Okay, no, didn't work. So this is not the correct padding, it seems. Top left, border radius, height.
Width, stack, box decoration.
We have the box shadow here. Oh, you're welcome. And we have the text radius only is mobile. Oh, here we have another width. But this is the container inside, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we can keep that for now.
Did you remove the padding? Oh,
Yeah, now it works.
what was that?
Ah, okay, all right, I understand. The problem is, what we can't see is, if you take a closer look down here, the row is getting higher. That is the issue. So this thing is too big. So we have to identify how we can organize that better. The problem is now we need to know how the width is, and we know that, right?
Yeah.
Because what we can say is we can just take the width that we know from above and reduce it by, for example, 20.
Yeah.
And look like that. But the problem is now the upper one.
I think, did you delete the padding? The left?
No,
but
I
this is the
removed
right
that.
padding.
I brought that back. Interesting that now this one behaves a bit strange. I didn't thought that. Let's reload once more. Just in case. No, it's still there. Can we just increase that? But I think that is not the solution.
No, the problem is that it doesn't change in the top one.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm talking about. So what
That
happens
was
if we
true.
enhance that by 100? Okay, it works after a certain amount. Interesting. Okay. After 60, it recognized it. So the width up there is maybe higher. Maybe 400 is larger than expanded height.
The width of 400, you mean?
Yes.
Is larger than the width of our screen.
Yes, I can imagine something like that. So what happens if I change that to 300? Look at that. It's changing that correctly. So 400 is maybe just not the right value for the whole thing. So it thinks it's larger, but it's getting narrowed down to whatever it is.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I will do, I keep that for now on 300, but we have to find a solution for that later. So now we have here pretty much everything that we want. But one thing is that I don't like about this categories part. And if you take a look here, we have on the right side a padding.
Yes.
So how do we get rid of that? Because I think it shouldn't have a padding on the right side in that case, right?
I think the padding is for the whole screen actually, or isn't it?
It could be, but we don't want that the categories have that, right? Our designer says exactly that it's just going through.
Oh yeah.
So it should look like there is no ending, so that the user is knowing that there is more. So how can we do that? Just to create that, let's see. where do we create these things, and where do we have a padding on the right? You say it's for the whole screen. Maybe we should take a look for... we created a sliver padding for that. You remember?
Yeah.
And I think the sliver padding is responsible for this. So if I create here and remove that, here we go. You can see.
Okay.
Okay, that means we have to change the symmetric, unfortunately.
Yeah, but maybe we can use the only part.
I think, yeah. So we have here a top. Can replace that with bottom.
And we need the left side.
Left side, exactly. Ooh. Yeah, that was small. I think it was just 10 and 20 or something.
10 and 20 or 30?
No, 20 I think. So, alright. But now it looks pretty good, I think.
Yeah, perfect.
Ready to use, actually. Okay.
Now we need some names for different categories, Max.
Yeah, so the question is, should we create them yet already? Because I can do that. So, but the problem is, because we don't have any data, real data, we will see that all of them getting the same value, which is not that pretty, I would say.
Yeah.
So what I want to...
Generally, we need a list of string with the different names, and we should read each item of the list. Or
correct.
It's going to be in the future in our database.
Yes.
Okay.
So we have multiple ways to do that. At least we want to mock at the end now how we get the data. And I think one of the guys has asked us to create a provider. Maybe it's a good time to just jump into. And for now, we just create the layer on top where we later get the data from.
Okay.
So that we have a layer of data. But before we do that, actually, we want to create a widget, right? Because down here we have now the widget inside of our dashboard screen.
Max, yeah.
And I think that is not very beautiful.
No.
So I create a new folder in libs, as always, which I call widgets. And inside of here we have our nice new wave border card. Oops, that's completely wrong. Wave border card. .dart.
Okay.
All right. And now we can select all that stuff and bring it to the wave border card. Good. We have some issues because we don't import anything.
Yeah, you should probably import the material.
Okay, so this is that. We import this part. Good. And still some errors. Where are we? Here. He wants the image URL. Alright. So the import is still missing here. And here we go. Still errors. What happens? Okay, the dashboard is asking for the import.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Now clean that one up. And that should work now. Restart the application. Malformed exception. We have a new subscriber.
Right. This is a
I think I'm not sure if it worked, but we have also now like a running zombie or something. We are so modern and advanced streamers now.
Oh my god, what is that for an image?
Yeah, that's food.
Okay.
Sorry for... But you can see already the sliver is working, so if we scroll, the whole thing gets a bit smaller. That's pretty good. And we have this part now. It looks also pretty good, right? And now we want to create a dashboard. But before,
should we start with the provider, or should we at first create our search box?
What do you think? I think it would be nice to have at least some data in the categories.
Yeah.
And if we mock them, then we have at least the next step prepared. Then we can maybe start today or next week with the SQL flight, so we have some established data.
Perfect. So let's do.
But first we commit all the changes, because else we getting in too much changes. So implemented the categories.
Category card.
Cards, yeah. And we have some issues. Cannot resolve properties. Alright, that isn't a Gradle because we had some issues with Flutter 1.17 today.
Do you want the unversioned file? Okay.
No, I think they should be all going up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. So we have that done. And the next part, what do we want to do? That's this. This we have done. Yeah, we want to create a provider.
Okay.
So how do we go if we want to create a new thing? We go to pub.dev, right?
Yeah.
And we search for the provider package, where Remy created us a very nice package with the Flutter favorite. And have you seen that he changed his publisher name to Dash Overflow?
No, I didn't.
It is a website, so I highly recommend to check it out. It's really great. So you find a lot of useful information about Flutter and everything.
Okay.
So he made a very cool website with all the Dash support and how
Did
you
Remy
start.
do that, or
Yes.
is it some?
It's supported by Remy, I think. So give it a try. It's really great. Okay, but back to our provider, right? So first, I don't log in now, but we should like that package. So if you haven't done it, do it. And then we want to install the provider package. And as you see, as always, we jump to installing. The README is self-explaining. We will use change notifier most likely. Yeah, so Remy explained here everything, also with testing and everything. I highly recommend that. But for now, we jump back into it. So what does provider do for us? Do you know that?
I think the provider make it possible to give the data through different layers.
More or less, it's and it's also keeping a state management kind of for us.
Okay.
So we will use set state anymore. So all our widgets that we create furthermore should be stateless, or are possible to be stateless if we do it right with provider. So let's go into
PubSpec YAML.
Exactly. Oops. And here inside we want to add the provider package and give it a second. And I think we have to pub.get. Exactly. So we make that small. And how do we go further? I usually do it by creating a new folder that we call provider for now, where just our provider lives inside.
Okay.
Okay. So, and what was next? An easy way to use streams in Flutter. Well, there are some easy ways to use streams in Flutter, but I highly recommend to learn them, because I think I'm still not an expert. As I said in Twitter the last time, with async star and then returning a string and a stream and everything, it is always complex if you work with multiple futures. So you have to learn it. There is no other way, I think, to train it all the time, learn and try it again and try it again. Okay, for our application, because we don't have so much logic yet, I would just create a provider for everything, like a master provider that keeps all the files and all the state currently in place.
Okay.
Okay, so I call it app provider. And this app provider is just a I don't know if this exists, but the Pojo, a basic class, right, where nothing else is inside for now, that we call app provider. And I will just do.
Thank you for subscribing.
This message had hold back. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, Max.
Yes. And this app provider, if we want to make it as a change notifier, that means whenever a status inside of this provider changes, we notify all our children.
Okay.
Right? So we have to extend it, and we want to extend it with the change notifier.
Yeah.
And as you see now, this comes from Cupertino.dart. That means it is not something that Remy provided or created. It is something that comes from Flutter itself, from the Flutter framework.
And why are you changing?
Because I'm a big fan of the material Dart rather than the Cupertino, because we don't currently work on the Cupertino side.
Okay.
And I think we can even import the foundation, because the foundation is even less. So less import at the end. There is less stuff inside.
Okay.
Okay. So I keep that as low as possible always from the sizing.
Great.
All right. So the change notifier. we want to have categories, different ones, right?
Yeah.
So like category 1, 2, and 3. So
Yeah, actually, I think we should we hard code it?
just for now. For later.
Because we will have five categories
Mhm.
in general for our application.
Yes.
And
okay.
but we will get it at the end from our school flight.
Yes.
Okay,
But
yeah.
the change notifier is just our like in between, our middleman.
Okay.
And the idea is at the end, because now at the moment it's really hard coded, we have a hard coded item count, and we have also no opportunity to add a card to that. We can't remove one, and so on and so forth, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Yes, the change notifier is available Foundation, Material, Cupertino, wherever you search it. But I highly recommend to take the dependency. Whoa, what happened?
I don't know. Something is.
Oh, sorry, Hamish. I think you are not allowed to post a link,
Any links.
and you get kicked. I didn't fix that somehow the last time. That was already a problem. Maybe you can do that. I'm not sure. Yeah, but
yeah.
All right. But the change notifier, yes, it has exactly this problem. So no, it has no problem. It can be imported by multiple possible packages. And I highly recommend to take the Foundation because it has the fewest dependencies to all other packages.
Perfect.
Good. Now we don't want to have that hard-coded stuff anymore. So we create inside of our provider a variable that contains our list of categories. Okay?
Go for it.
So final categories, which is a list of...
list of string for now?
Yeah, just to keep it a list of strings for now.
It's just file name in Flutter.
Okay. Weird.
It happened automatically from our stream tool that we have.
Yeah.
I think it thought it's a link and it is deleted automatically. So sorry for that. It's not us.
It's always driving pretty crazy there.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a list of strings with categories, right? So the first category we said it's noodles.
Yeah.
The second one is rice. The third one
chicken,
for example.
And beef.
Beef? Alright, let's give it beef. And I want to add vegetarian because I am vegetarian.
Yeah.
Alright, so we have our categories here. And now what we want is we want to access these categories, right? And because if we would make that correctly, this would be private. Because what we want to achieve is whenever we change this list, we add something or we remove something from it, we don't want to do it via direct access, right? So another class shouldn't come into that and change something in here. We want to have a method that does that. So what, for example, we want to have an add category method. Okay? And whenever we call this add category method, which returns null void, we can categories, and we have here like a string category or new category. And what we want to have is that this one gets added to the list. And after that, we want to notify everyone who is dependent on this add provider.
Yeah.
So for that, we call notify listeners. Exactly.
Right.
And the last but not least, because if this is a private variable, sure, Amish, I will do that somehow. I first have to install Discord, I think. Yeah.
The easiest way is we're gonna be the Twitter, or?
And so but now we create a getter for that because at the moment we don't have direct access to the categories anymore, right? We can't read the values anymore here. So what we will do is we want to create a getter and like categories, and this one returns us the categories. And what I always recommend is for the getter, because wherever we call now categories, we will receive our list. But if we don't define here hard the type of the return from this getter method, we will not be able to see later the typings correct. So,
okay. If we use somewhere else, we can see what's gonna be.
Yes. So I highly recommend always to. I made that the wrong way. We have to say first this and then get.
Yeah.
And now we have the possibility to, whenever we access this part, to see that it is really a list of strings.
Yeah. Perfect.
Okay, cool. So we notify our listeners. We widget. I think it's an E.
Widget 3.
Or Tarian widget. I don't know. You see how bad I am.
I don't know better, so
Maybe. I think that's okay.
okay. Yeah.
All right. So now we have access to that part. Now we have to make the lists where we want to use it available. No, we want to make the provider available to that list.
Yeah.
So for that, we have to register this provider somewhere.
Yeah.
And because the provider is working with the build context, we have to register this context before we call our widget.
Okay.
That means when we have here now an app provider and we want directly use it in the dashboard screen, we have two options. Number one, we create and register it inside of the dashboard screen, but then we have to sound everything inside with a builder function.
Okay, which
Or
is a
builder
little
widget.
bit too much
Yes.
for our
The other
use
option
case.
would be we just wrap it inside of our main. But with that, we make every single page that exists dependent on the app provider later. So that is very
Okay.
high level, but that gives us the flexibility, that reduces the flexibility that we have with it. So for now, what I would suggest is we surround only the dashboard screen with it. But as I said, it could be everything later. Yeah, so we have to make that a bit careful.
Yeah.
But because it's an app provider, it's responsible for everything. We can be happy with that, I think. So we wrap our dashboard screen, as I said, with a provider, and we change provider.
Change and type.
Exactly. And provider is so good, really, I love it. And good, now we have the change notifier provider. And I said already we want to register it, right?
Yes.
Cool. So to register it, there is a function inside, or a parameter that we have to pass by that's called create. And the create parameter, if we jump in, can't I jump inside? Yeah, I have to, yeah. So the create one, as you can see, it is a create. And here we know this is a function which returns, which has a parameter of a build context and returns an object.
Okay.
Okay, so what does it mean? We want to have a context and we return an object. And which one?
It's gonna be in this case not the dashboard screen.
The app bar, the app provider, sorry.
Wow. Okay.
Yes, because what we want to do is that all children that are here inside have now access to that app provider. And because it's getting registered to this context.
Okay.
It's a bit weird, but it works very well. How did you change the title bar of Android Story from light to dark? That's the title bar. I think that's pretty easy. I just go here, appearance. Sorry, I love that, so that's perfect. And then you have here the theme where you say Darkula and use dark window header. And that's it. Worked perfectly fine for me. Okay, so change notifier provider. Oh,
now we have access to our list.
Correct. We have access to our app provider and we can now use that in our dashboard screen.
Yeah.
How do we do that? First, we can, we have two options there, and Remy made it very easy for us to use that. One would be that we say, we call the provider itself. I have to. So we can do something like that we say provider of context, and then we go and say what type we want to have back.
Yeah.
And that is a very important thing. So whenever we work with provider, what it does is it searches in the whole widget tree that we created for the next element that is come back to that.
Okay.
So in our case, we want to have the app provider back, right? So what we can do is adding here the app provider and import the whole thing. So now we say the provider, please look up in the widget tree if there is somewhere an app provider that we can use.
Okay.
And now the whole thing returns us the app provider that we want. And if we take a look, we see already that categories, sorry, are already there, and also the categories and so on and so forth.
Okay, perfect.
Cool. And the other option is also pretty cool because we can surround different widgets with another widget called consumer.
Okay.
So we have here our list view separated, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this one is the only one who is actually dependent on the
provider.
data that we get, right?
Mhm.
So what we will do is we surround that one with the
Consumer.
correct consumer. And I said already that it's very important that we specify the
Type of.
type, right?
Mhm.
So how now we have to do the same thing, right?
Mhm.
So we specify the app provider, and we have now the possibility to access it. But as you see, it's getting yellow.
I think we missed something. This is gonna be the builder. Okay.
Correct. So the consumer returns as a builder function
Mhm.
again. So it has a builder, and this builder, builds now our stuff that we want.
Mm-hmm.
And careful here, we have again a builder, so context. The good thing is, how does the builder look like from change notifier?
It's a good question, Max. Can
Yeah.
you explain it?
So if we take a look here, we can see we get the build context first.
Okay.
Then we get something that calls T, size
Yeah.
capital T, and the last thing is widget. So the
Okay,
capital
so-
T is whatever we have here. So we get now
Okay.
the singleton from the app provider. That is the first one that you can find in the widget tree.
Mhm.
Okay, so we call it app provider.
Okay. And the last one is a widget,
Correct.
which
better,
gonna be
child.
returned from our.
Careful. Again, this child is this one, right?
Yeah.
But this one will only be rebuilt if this builder, if something has changed in the app provider, the consumer is called with the builder.
Mhm.
But the child will not get rebuilt. So whatever is in the child will not get rebuilt from the provider, from the consumer. So what we want to do is we want to return this part, which has to change.
But we don't have any child.
Correct.
Okay.
But we could have some childs that don't change according to the consumer,
Mhm.
right? So that is an option that Remy gives us.
Mhm.
Okay. And with all of that, we have now inside of the list view access to that list.
Okay, that means we can access to the categories
Mhm.
and to the length of the list of categories.
Exactly.
Right.
So we can have the app provider.
The categories,
Yep.
and the length.
Correct.
Great.
Perfect. And the last thing is, because we want have for everything a different recipe name, right?
Mhm.
We want also from this list, we want to access the certain index here.
Mhm.
Because we have the item builder, and for every item, this one gets called, right?
Mhm.
And it has now a length from 5 or 4 or whatever.
Mhm.
And now it's jumping more or less from the different entries in our list.
Okay.
And what we can do now is we can access the list here, categories, and we receive
Go through the index.
exactly. And if everything works well, and it doesn't, so what is the problem here?
My
Error, the method consumer is not.
the app providers. Consumer app.
Let me restart the application. I think that is something.
Most of the time it works.
That's perfect, Amish. I'm happy that you have a dark mode, because it's so important these days that everything is dark. You're working sometimes with bright mode, right?
Yeah, because sometimes I think it's too much dark.
Really?
So-
Okay.
Sometimes makes fun, but I'm happy with bright color sometimes. I think
Okay.
it works now, huh?
Yeah,
Isn't
look
it?
at that. We have now noodles, we have rice, we have chicken,
chicken.
beef, and veggie. So,
Perfect, Max.
perfect, nearly perfect. What I also want to do now, because the images are always the same, right?
Okay, actually we can also
Uh,
load probably different images.
Yes, we could, and we should, I think. And the idea here is, how do we receive different images? Now we have the app provider, right? We have categories.
Yeah.
And we learned right now that a category is not only a string. It seems to be more than just a string.
Okay, what do you mean?
A category seems to have a name and an image, right?
Yeah.
Somewhere. So an image URL or something.
You are right.
So what do we have to do if we have 2 or more attributes from something?
Do you want to tell me something with a key value?
No. So instead
how about
of a
if
string,
we have...
what we could have?
Oh, we can have a dynamic. But it doesn't help us.
Correct. We could create a class for it, right?
Okay.
Yeah, because we have multiple categories. It would be great to have a class for that.
Okay.
So my idea is that we have in the lib folder a models folder. And here inside we create a new file that we call category model.dart. And this one has a class category model.
And the category will have different parameters, right?
Attributes, correct.
Attributes, okay.
And the different attributes would be, for example, the category name, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
String?
Just name, I would say. String name, correct. And the other thing is a string. I call
image
it image URL. Yeah. Good. So now we have to make it callable, right? So category model, we create these 2 things. So this dot name and this dot image URL. And that's it. Do we want to make sure that whenever we use that category model, that someone has to enter something? Because I think the name is absolutely required, right?
Yeah.
So one option would be, and I think the most of you know that, we can write required in front, but then we have to import something.
Yeah.
Right? So we have to import foundation, for example. So now whenever someone creates this category model, we have a great advantage. So for example, let's say I would create here inside of add category this new class, right?
Yeah.
You can see, oops, I have to import it, of course, and this one. Now it's getting yellow, and it tells us that the name is required. But to be frank, this is too less for me. I want to be a bit more harsh. I want that it's failing, because it's not possible to create that whole thing even though if it's empty, right?
Okay. And how do you want to do that?
We have multiple options here. The first thing would be just to say that we have here this dot name inside here. And with that, it's not optional anymore. So you have to provide it. Yeah. That
means only the attributes which are in the curly bracket are optional.
Correct. Also, yeah, because they are named constructor parameters, and this one is an unnamed parameter. And with that, we have the option here. Another option would be that we make asserts behind. And this assert could be like name unequal null.
Okay, I don't know this one. Okay.
Yeah. So whenever someone tries to create now this category model with an empty name, it will fail immediately.
Do we need both of them, or is
one
just
of them
one
is
of them
perfectly fine? And the benefit of this one is that you can't even use it. So if I'm here and I use that category model, and I wouldn't give a name, right? It's getting red, as you can see with that wiggly lines here.
Yeah.
So, but if I use the other one with the assert,
I
will do that just voila. Now it is still possible, but when I do it, it fails. It throws me a runtime error. So I'm not a big fan of the runtime error thing, because then I am tending to make the mistake, right? So I give also other developers the option to make mistakes. And I'm always a bit strict with that stuff. So never allow a developer to make mistakes. It's just bad.
Yeah.
Okay. Now this works, and you see now we have directly a build error, right? He immediately knows he makes something wrong here.
Perfect.
So, perfect. Now we have this model, and we want to create for each of these strings, we want to create that model. Noodles, and what do we have here? We have rice. Oh, let me just do it this way. That's tedious. Let's make it this way. Is it cool, right?
It's much better.
So,
why is everything...
Correct.
Yeah, okay,
why is everything right?
I think we should write the name double point, or?
No, because it's a positional argument, right? So it's not in curly braces. We don't have to set the name. It's way easier.
The element type can't be assigned to the list type string. Can you please jump in the category model?
Sure.
So that means it is a list of category model.
Correct.
And
That
not a
is the
string.
issue. Perfect.
Oops.
Oops.
Better.
No, it's still red somewhere
No?
down here, I think. Expected to have it. What? Ah, here. Good. So now something is broken because down here it don't wants to have a string here anymore. It wants to have a category model now.
Yeah.
That's perfectly fine. Can have that. And here we have the same problem.
And here I should delete the semicolon.
Good catch. Good. What do we have next?
Now we should go to the dashboard screen.
Ah, yeah. We have here also, yeah. Because we currently just access the element in the different positions, but we don't want to have the whole object as a string here. We just want to have the name, right?
Yeah.
So what we have is the name.
The name.
So now we have a broken thing. What is wrong?
I think still for the name of the recipe.
List string
And
function.
look at here. I think the length is somehow wrong, isn't it?
No, I don't think so. Because the length of the categories should be fine. Type is not. I think it's just a hiccup again. So let's restart. Yeah, I think so.
Always stay optimistic.
Positive, yeah. Okay, so we managed it.
Oh, yeah, okay,
everything
great.
works. And now we want to replace the image behind.
Okay.
So how can we do that? We have currently the state in the dashboard and our wave border card that is stateless, completely stateless, wants to have now a different image. So
at the moment we have a hard-coded URL
yeah,
image.
I think it is in the constants. Yeah, it is this one.
Okay. What we can do probably is to bring the URL also in our category list.
So we go to the app provider and say something like image URL is this one.
I'm not sure if it's now, I think.
Let's try that
Yeah,
first.
I think it's gonna be different if we hear. Okay.
Oops. So let's see. But now we still have to update all the images, right? Because now it doesn't use the image URL in any place. So what we have to do inside of our dashboard is we have to jump into the creation of the wave border card. And in here, we want to create something. We need now
We need
our
an image URL.
string image URL, exactly. And we add that to our final parameters in the constructor. And now we want to, sorry. And now we want to use that in that network image here. What is the problem?
Can you
String.
please?
Evaluation.
Go back?
Ah, the problem is that this whole thing is a constant.
Ah, okay, and we can change it.
Yes, now this one is not anymore
I can't.
possible to be const. Yeah. So this one can be const, so it should stay const. Yeah, Ashish, makes a lot of fun. It's easier to work together with that stuff.
And speak about this stuff is much better.
Cool. Now it tells us that the URL is null. Yep, that is what I wanted to avoid with the empty placeholder, right? Because it's better to have an empty, or better, can we do something like that we always have the image URL that is getting from, that we anyway use later, right? So we could use always the same one. So inside of here we have this image URL. Yep. And we just use that, where is it? Here, at this place.
But do you know what? You had actually, you have defined it in the constant or in the constant file.
Yes, you're right.
We can actually use just only, yeah.
Absolutely, that would be much better.
So we don't have to write it. So
And this way.
and also we can use it in our app provider.
No.
Isn't it?
Yeah, we could use that. I'm anyway not sure why we get always the same image here.
Is this
but
the same?
yeah, it's always the same. The
I
funny
see.
thing is that the top one is different, but the others are all the same. Maybe it's a timing thing. Okay, but here we will use again our cool new so, and replace all of them. or nearly all of them.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Did I miss something? It's not imported. Yeah.
Here we go.
And I think I should rename them. So we go here, rename them, and call them k-image recipe. Here we go. Okay, and now we restart the app once more and see what happens. No. Okay, it's still always the same image, and this is quite kind of annoying. What we can do, if we have this image here, right, that image URL.
Can you maybe open the URL?
Yes, sure.
What we...
Give me a second, I want to try something. So what happens if I do this? Is it special? No, it's the same. Okay, so let's try it out to find out what happens here. So I think it's something that has to do with the timestamp. So if we call them all together, it's always the same image.
Same feeling.
But that's alright, I think.
For now, I think it's fine. We should change the image anyway.
Else we can use unsplash images. I think that should be also fine.
But we should download
but they don't.
them.
Yeah, exactly. They don't like that if we just use them from the API.
Like, yeah. What we can do probably is that we change the URL with different topic.
Yeah, but I think we can do that later.
Yeah,
that's not
we should
so
change
important.
it anyway.
I would do that if that is in the API, or if we upload anyway images. Maybe we can do something like we create a category and upload an image for that category.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, makes sense.
Everyone can do whatever he likes. Whew, perfect. So, have you any questions till now? Are we too fast because we are working together? I think it's an unfair advantage. Can maybe upload them already in the meantime and bring everything into our GitHub repository. So like optimized the categories.
And use the provider package.
Oh yeah, true. Forgot about it. Introduced the provider package. And we review, of course. No, it's just a KT file. And here we don't have an import. That's beautiful. So, okay. We have now like 30 minutes. And I have one additional thing that I would like to do, because what I don't like at the moment is we are working without a linting system. And I know a lot of people have a lot of strong opinions about it, but I'm very happy with the lintings usually, because they give me like an additional safety shield or safety net to improve my code quality. And I think every team or every project should include them at the end, at least thinking about them. And there are quite some very important topics, and if you have never heard about it, it is the analysis options that you maybe know. Our stream does weird things, but that's fine. And these analysis options are coming from Dart language, actually, and you can put them all inside and use them however you want. And there are also some famous packages, like for example, the pandemic package.
Okay.
Is it pandemic? No, sorry, that's different. It isn't. It starts with P and it's from Flutter. It is the nicht provider. Does someone from you know? I forgot the name. Flutter analyzes. I think we can find it here inside. It is not pandemic. It is one of them, and the other one is pedantic.
Okay.
It's close enough to. All right, so we want to use that pedantic, I think, because it's the Flutter standard.
Okay.
And so if it uses Flutter, I think it's good enough for us.
Yeah.
So one option is just to use that like it's explained here. And what I will do is I go to pub.dev, and here inside we find pedantic. Voila. And yeah, it is currently on the version 1.090. And what it says is we have to create the analysis options YAML, which we will do together now.
Okay.
So inside of our project folder, we make right click, creating new file, analysis options.yaml. So I have to double check if it was correctly written, analysis options YAML. Always make sure with that we have the right naming, right? Because else we get some issues.
Okay, and we should import the pedantic
Correct.
package.
So we go back to our pubspec.yaml, and this is actually a dev dependency, right? Because will not be, it is not necessary to have that in our release package, for example, because it is just an linting, right?
For development.
Yes. Okay, so now we have that here in place. And how does it work? We pub.get, and we have to import it inside of our Dart code. I think that is different to what I know. Exactly, we have to include it inside of our analysis options. So inside here, we include the whole thing. So this should, in the best case, it shouldn't change anything. Then we are on a pretty good road already. In the worst thing, we have a lot to change. And as you can see, everything, some parts are getting yellowish.
Okay, they are with the double quotes.
Exactly.
Probably.
So we have multiple possibilities. First, it offers, so like Visual Studio Code and also Android Studio offers already the option that we convert all the double quotes to single quotes, right? That is one option that we can do. The other option would be that we say, bah, who cares, right? So it's just double quotes. So you have the possibility, if we take another look into our documentation, we have a possibility to change the
logic of the?
Not the logic, it's more the harshness, how hard we want to test that whole thing. So how can we do that? We have these rules here. I just take them for now inside. And one of the rules would be, let me think, double quote or something. So analysis, options, double quote, and we find this one here. Prefer double quotes or prefer single quotes.
Okay.
And we can say in this rules part here that it's just an info. And now it doesn't complain anymore about prefer double quotes or prefer single quotes.
That means we can use both of them.
Yes. If you have a strong opinion, of course, feel free to leave that inside, of course, right? So it's just for me because I'm always very happy with my double quotes. So as you can see now, both are absolutely fine.
Okay, perfect.
Usually you would also, make that strong, because who cares at the end if it's single typed or double quote?
Yeah, if it's not.
But stay consistent is always better. So if you do it in single quote, stay with single quotes for the whole team. Another big benefit now is we can now make a Dart analyzer.
Okay.
Oh, I think it's with C. Or is it, Flutter pub analyzer. Oops. Okay, let's Google Flutter analyzer. Is it a package, really? How do we call it? Dart analyzer?
Isn't that just Flutter analyze?
Is it just Flutter analyzer? Oh, I thought so. -H, let's take a look. So inside of here we find analyze. I always made it with a R at the end. So Flutter analyze. And what it does is checking our whole repository that we have currently and checks for errors or mistakes in these linting rules. And as you can see, no issues found.
No issues.
We are beautiful fine here at that area.
Right.
Cool. Okay, so we have images, we have a name, we have now a provider.
Package.
And now I just want to have just to explain or show that this add categories actually does what we expect. Right?
Okay.
So when I click now on this add categories, what I want is that this one is recreated and we get another one to it. And I see right now that we maybe need a padding at the end here, right? So if we scroll completely to the right, that we have a small padding here. But that's future. Okay, what I want to do is for that, for our dashboard screen, I want to add somewhere a button or something. Maybe up here in the sliver. What
Do you want to
think?
make it flexible, or is it?
The button?
No, I mean the number of categories.
Just for now, just that we can
okay,
show
so
that we can just change something here, that we
Okay,
have like
yeah.
a tutorial here for. Or do you think it's not necessary? We can also start with something else.
I think we can do it.
Yeah.
That's not a problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's take a look. What do we have here? We have actions, and I think that is exactly what we want for that, like just a button or something that we can work with. So I want to have an icon button with an on pressed that we will implement in a second,
Yeah.
and with an icon.
It's fine.
Icons dot plus,
Plus or add or.
something like that.
Can you see that?
Yeah, up
Yeah.
here we have the nice little icon. Okay, so if we print now here, check.
Could
we
you
can
probably make it a little bit bigger that everyone can see that?
What should I make bigger?
The icon.
Ah, yeah, sure, for sure. So size, let's make it 36. Still too small.
Yes.
And I maybe
Yeah.
make not a +1, I make just a plus, or
I think add is the right one. Yeah. Perfect.
the only question is why is it completely on the right? I think it should have a
I think
small
it's
padding.
something like with the actions for the app bar, isn't it?
Yeah, it is an action of the app bar, but
Yeah.
should that not be fine? I mean, now it's completely on the right side, so I give it a small padding.
Okay.
Okay. So now when we press this plus icon here, I would like...
Okay.
So
We can see that the print is working and
exactly.
the
And
work is printing.
what I want to do is now that we add a category for that, right? So
Mm-hmm.
we want to access the provider dot of context. We want to get our app provider, and now we want to add a category, and we have to create a new category here, right? So for now, let's create always a category.
Italian.
You get your Italy here in that case. So the first one is name, right? Italian. Whoop. And what do we need? An image URL, right?
Yeah.
So what was it? I think we have an image.
We can also leave it off.
Oh, we can leave it, right?
Yeah.
That's true. And we have to finish that. Perfect. So. Okay, and another thing is if we press that button, right? We get from the provider the notify listen back, right?
Yes.
And with that, we would rebuild everything that listens to the different parts. So for example, that provider of app provider context would re-trigger whenever we rebuild it. So, but we don't want that. That would mean that for every time we create or add something to that list, we notify all our listeners. So also this one would be getting rebuilt.
Okay.
So we have to say listen. Whoops. Listen false. Okay. And with that, we make sure that this one is not getting called again, not on purpose. Okay, so now when we do that, and I'm going to the last one, and I press on the plus icon, we get works, and we have Italian. And you see, if I press it once more, we have Italian once more, and so on and so forth. So it works perfectly fine.
Yeah.
And this is how our provider works at the end. So we have the possibility with that notify providers. No, what is the name? Sorry, no, I'm confused. Notify listeners. So all the listeners are getting rebuilt, like the consumer in that case. That's the cool thing about provider.
Great. Does it mean in can you go again to the dashboard screen? Here with the false, that means that all the children's doesn't get rebuilt again, or
no,
isn't
it's just this part, because what as I said, this notify listeners would retrigger everyone who is listening to that list up here,
Yes.
right? Or to everything that is inside of the app provider, actually. So everything is getting rebuilt who works with that app provider.
Yes.
Now the provider cannot distinguish between an element that is coming from the widget tree, which one's that getting called by this, or by a consumer.
Yeah.
So this one would be getting rebuilt, but you don't want to have that rebuilt. So that's why you say listen
okay.
false.
Yeah, perfect.
But only the bottom part is getting rebuilt, where we have the consumer surrounding it.
Perfect.
Perfect?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay.
So.
You know what? I would start, because we have just 25 minutes, and I think it's getting a bit too tight to start with a whole new project, like for example SQL Flight. But what I would maybe say is that we create a nice little page transition between the different categories that we have down here and the next screen that we want to have.
Yeah, we can do that.
Because if we take a look into our Adobe,
what we have still,
the idea is we click on one of the categories and the list of different categories should show up. Yeah?
Yeah.
So my idea would be that we really say, okay, we click on that, we come to our list with different things, and maybe we can make a hero animation for this noodles part and bring it up here. And maybe we can even take the image down here and bring it somewhere here on the side.
Yeah.
With a cool transition.
Sounds like a great idea.
Yeah.
Okay, this is gonna be the third page.
Yeah, that is then the title, the real recipe at the end that we want to have.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Go for it. So
Okay.
we need a new screen mix.
All right, a new screen. That's my favorite.
Do you
part.
have any question, guys? Did we miss something? So it's gonna be the
I call it category screen. Is that good? No,
For one category.
it is one
we'll
category,
have
so category screen.
Screen, yeah.
The dart, and we add the whole thing. It will be a stateless widget.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
The category.
Category screen.
Yes.
I will import the material package here, therefore. And what do we want to achieve? We want to click on one of these and want to get navigated, right?
Yes, which means actually we need something like a gesture detector, probably for our container.
For all the widgets here, right?
Yeah, for each category.
So the category is getting created in our list view, right? And we create a wave border card for that. So my idea would be that we surround that wave border card with a gesture detector here in that case.
I would say
What do you say? Yeah, cool. So let's try that. We wrap the whole thing with a gesture detector. And a gesture detector has a nice little part that's called onTap, right? And we have here a method inside. And if we print now for now just the category name, we want to have here the app provider dot categories index dot name, just to see that we can access everything like we expect, right? So if I click noodles, I expect noodles. If I click rice, we get rice. That's exactly
nice.
what we want.
Perfect.
But if I see something like this, what do?
We can
Extract the variable out of it, right?
But we don't want to do that actually.
No? But
No,
we
this is not
use
the
it
purpose.
up here.
You want to? Yeah. Okay, I see.
So that was the idea.
You want also to give the name to the next page. Is this right? Or why do you want to create a variable?
I don't know yet. But
Yeah,
yes,
okay.
I think so, because we need the information. If we click here, we need the information on the other side, right?
Yes,
So that we know
actually,
which
it's going to
part
be
we
a
are.
parameter for our navigation.
Yes, I think so.
But I would say let's create the navigation at first. Navigate
And then the
push,
name.
and after that the name.
Okay, sounds fair enough. Okay, so how do we navigate? One of the options.
With the navigation.push or the navigator.push. I can't join you
Oh,
before.
Jody,
today.
nice to see you again.
Nice to see you.
Sorry
Hi.
for that. maybe we change the times someday, or maybe we make it on a Saturday or something like that. We are still working on it. Okay.
So with the navigator, with the
So what do-
material navigator,
We have 3 options, right, that we can do for navigation. We have the route navigation.
yes,
We have the named push.
yes,
And we have the normal push, right?
named push and the normal push, yes.
So, and for now we want to just make a normal push, right?
would
Where
say
we
the
just
same.
say we put everything on a stack. And I think that should be the easiest way to do. So how do we do it?
I would say the navigator
Push.
push.
All right. So we take the normal context, and now
Let's
we
go
need
with the
the route.
material navigator or something.
Page
route.
route.
Perfect.
And here inside, I think we have the builder.
Yeah. We need the context.
Context
And after that we'll go to the next page, isn't it?
category screen.
Yeah. Category screen.
Okay, so let's see how it turns out.
I think you missed semicolon somewhere.
Really? Down here.
Yeah. Perfect.
Okay, so now with that we navigate already, right? But it is pretty... Oops, it doesn't work. Let's reload. How was your day, Jordi? Or George? No, it's not navigating. What
Did
did we do wrong?
miss something?
So first, let's print if we tap.
Can you scroll to the side?
No, now it's...
So I think the application is somehow frozen, no?
Okay, let's start again.
So after that, if the navigation is working, we
Then
can...
we want to make a page transition, right?
Yes.
Because we don't want to make it so boring that we just move to another page.
So let's see if the click animation on tab is working.
But it seems that we don't navigate somehow.
The category screen, the material. Did we miss something for the navigator?
I don't think so.
Okay, navigator the push.
Are you sure with the build context? I'm pretty sure that should work because it interferes from the different one, or not? So I can't imagine that this is the problem, but thank you, Hamish. Because I think the Dart system is pretty smart with that. It should understand that, but let's try it. I mean, why not? No, it's still broken.
Tab, the gesture detector navigator.
Okay, that is completely new.
Weird. We have the material page route, is it right? Yeah.
We use the material
Builder,
page route.
and
We
we have
push the navigator.push. That should be fine. I'm not sure if
Do
it's
we
broken.
Do we have the context here, right?
Yes, so that is
This is the dashboard. We are in the dashboard screen, so
build the context of the route. That sounds good. We create the category screen, which is just a stateless widget with a container. We can do here a scaffold just for reasons, and make a body with a container, just that we show something. And
But
I think with a text, with a child, that is a text widget where we say noodles for now. Just that it can display something. So if I click here, now here we go. Maybe we just needed something here inside. That was weird.
Really? It should, at the least, I thought it will navigate, but it doesn't have anything to show.
Yeah,
but
or frozen error or something. That was a bit weird, but Does it really mean that if I create here just a container, it doesn't work? That's new for me. I didn't know that. So let's try that once more. Sorry, that's for science. For science, we want to know that. Okay, so we used inside of here navigator.push, navigator of context push. Yeah, but and now we click here and we get our tab. That's fancy. So that means when we don't have something to display, it doesn't work. So a basic container is not enough.
And how about if we use the, what did Hamish write?
Hamish wrote that we use the navigator.push push in line 82, so this part here.
Okay,
but
instead of just that push.
Yeah, so he thought we have to write here build context, so to specify the context even more, or down here, I think. So, but we don't actually build context. So, but we don't have to define these variables because the builder is just a callback, as we know. And if we jump into the callback, we have a widget builder, and it knows it I don't know what exactly is the perfect term for that, but it re-pushes inside the build context, so we know it already. It seems to be a bug. I think I will report that into the Flutter issues because that is weird. Maybe I have to double check that.
Okay.
I think Amish gets some problems today. I don't know what's the poor guy. My Streamlabs drives crazy. Yeah, but it's not important now. I hope. Oh, the poor guy. I feel sorry for him. Can you double check that? Because if you get always kicked, I think he will be very disappointed. Okay, but anyway, so if we have some stuff inside, the transition works. But now we want to have something better, right? Just to have that cheap animation, it's nothing very valuable. And I know that you created a page transition the last couple of days. So how can we make something more fancy than just to create a transition?
So what we need is a page transition.
A page transition?
Yeah. I did last week, but to be honest, I should have a look again. Animated
page transition builder. Page transition. Let me look if I find something, then we can show it everyone.
Okay, we need it.
Amish, don't push that again with dot and so on. I think my tool drives crazy and kicks you again. I'm very sorry for that. And here you go. Oh jeez. Poor guy.
Okay, what we need is, Max, instead of a page route builder, we can use something like, let me know, transition builder. Is it right?
Let me Google that. I think yes. So flutter.dev, page route builder. So we have here create route with a page route builder.
We have the page route builder, and inside of exactly. We have the page builder and the transition builder.
Okay. So the page builder creates the second page, and the transition builder
will do some.
It returns the child. Okay. Create a tween. Use an animated widget. So we have a lot of options here.
Yeah.
That is this part. Okay, I think I know this. Okay. So let's try that.
Yeah.
We create the route. Where do we use the route here? It is used inside of the navigator.push. Okay. Amish, don't do it. You get kicked again. I'm sorry. Whenever you use... now you remove the dots. That could work. Perfect. Sorry for that. The tool is driving crazy. I will fix that for the next time, I hope, somehow. Okay. So
okay, but he tried to say that instead of just navigator.push, we need of context push. Max.
No, we don't need that. The thing is, because navigator is just...
Probably we should explain that. Yeah.
Yes, I can do that. Navigator.off context works perfectly fine and is also a possibility, but then we don't have to pass the context here inside. So the cool thing is that navigator.push has a wrapper automatically where we can just add the context and it works the same way. So it is just a wrapper. But he is right. I think
probably we can try.
Simon Lightfoot gave a speech about that. And he said also that you should just write this so you don't use the wrapper, so it makes no difference in that case.
Okay. Can we try? Can we see if it works with this one
without having with that here, where we just remove everything?
Yeah.
I can take a look, because that would be amazing. That it's quite funny that this doesn't work.
We can give it a try.
We stick with science. Sorry, guys. So if we don't have any content inside of our container on our second screen, and we try to click that, it doesn't do anything. It's just getting stuck. And if we have some context and save, oops. We need to have more. So voila. Now it works. So that's funny. So if we just have a container on the second screen,
it doesn't work.
We can't navigate. So sorry guys, that was for science. That was important. So
it's not enough for the second page.
Okay, but now page transition. So that means we push not a material page route. We just push a page
route builder.
Okay.
And after that we need the page builder and a transition builder.
A transition builder. Okay. Yep. We have that. So what is the page builder? The page builder is a route page builder. And if we take a look here, whoa, it's pretty big. We have here a function that returns a widget with a context, animation, second animation. Okay, so we get back a context with two animations, right? So we have a context with animation 1 and animation 2.
And we will return here our category. We can also
right?
the fat arrow.
You're right. Yeah, I think that makes more sense.
Yeah.
So instead of writing all that, we just make it this way.
Yeah, perfect.
And create the screen. Voila. Okay, and the transition builder, what have we here?
This will get also different parameters.
Transition builder?
Yeah.
And what does the transition builder has? It has a route transition builder, which is also a widget with a context, animation 1, animation 2, and a child this time.
Yes.
Okay. So
to be honest, I don't know what's the child in this for the transition builder.
Is it not the category screen? I'm not sure, but we can
let's try. But
so we have context 1, animation 1. We have animation 2. Or secondary animation.
What did you write in the first one? Animation 2.
Yeah. Let's keep it with the naming.
Yes.
And the last thing is the child, right?
Yes. And you will return the child.
I will return the child.
You can use again the fat arrow if you want.
I just want to clean up a bit. So and return the child. Okay.
And what we need additionally is a transition duration.
We need an animation transition duration, which is most likely a duration, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. How long do we want? I think to debug it, I would recommend like 2 seconds or 3 seconds or something, just to see how long it takes or how does it work. Okay, so if I click now and we have made this page route builder, wow, that's way too fast. Okay, now we don't see 3 seconds anything, and after that it's getting transitioned.
Is it like that?
Not really. It's somehow odd. It's just jumping around. So I think it's
does it mean
not something inside. So I think we have to do something like this here.
Okay, do you know what, Max? We need some animation, like a tween animation or something.
Yes, I think we found that here in that place with that slide transition, for example.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so let's take this tween, bring it into our Android Studio, and we do it inside of our transition, right?
Yes.
So here. So, and what I will do is I make it so and clean that up. Okay. So what happens in the transition builder? We get now a tween, and we say that we have an offset where we begin, and we start at 0 and 1. So that will mean that our transition begins where the whole screen is invisible. Can that be? Yeah. So the whole screen will be down here in the beginning, and then at the end, when the transition is ready, everything gets moved up.
Yes.
And so the animation will change the offset up to here.
Bring it to 0.
Yes.
Which is at the top of the screen.
And that makes it with an ease animation, with a curve ease in that case. So we have a tween for that. Okay. And what is the next step to implement that? We need a slide transition, for example, right? So here we have a slide transition. And do we return? No, we return this animation at the end. Okay, and now where do we get the animation from? It's up here, the animation. Okay, so that it would be animation 1 for us.
Yes. Okay, could you close it again? That we have better.
This one, yeah, I need a bit space here.
Yeah, okay.
Good. Okay, so now how does it look like? Yeah, you see, now the animation starts from the bottom, so from the offset 0, 1, and then with an ease it's coming up and down.
Perfect.
That's something. The next step would be that I don't like ease animations. Come on, that can't be the thing that we need, right? So if we take a look into these different parts here, so we can open up these nice little URLs and you can see how the curves are working for the different parts. So I think there is a bouncy one, and I want to use that one for this animation here. So you can see jump, jump, jump. So we have it coming up, up, and higher. So it's maybe a bit play style, but hey, that's cool.
Let's try it.
So curve, bounce, in. We jump back, and we have curve. What was it? Curve, bounce, in. Or so let's try it. Hup, hup, hup. Okay. So this is just a bit playing around with these different curves, but this is pretty good. And we have tween. The tween is always something that starts from 1 or from a beginning to the end and keeps track of the animation in that case. And then we have the curve tween inside and create the slide transition. Good. But now what I want to have is that this noodles is not just... let's change it back to ease. I think it's too much with the bouncy stuff. But the noodles up here, actually we want to have a hero animation, right?
Yes, we can do that.
Yeah, I think that's in the last 3 minutes, that should be absolutely possible, right? So what we can see is we have already down here.
Where is the text?
Yeah, where is the text? Let's have a look. Recipe
the
card
category
name is the name of the box. Is this name, I think. But this wave border has the hero inside now. It has the text that we want to display, right? So if we jump here, the hero, the first hero would be actually here in in the text.
So we can wrap the text widget in a hero.
Yep.
And after that, we need a tag for that.
Yes. Now we're coming to a problem, because that tag has to be unique.
Yeah, which means that for the different cards, we need actually different tags.
Okay, so
how we can do that? We can probably make it dependent on the name of the card.
That would be an option, yep. We could just say that it has... The problem is now we have to make sure that this recipe card name is unique.
Which is gonna be the case, I think.
Yeah, we can think that, but our code logic has not made that sure yet.
It's right.
But that for now it's fine, but for the future, because if we can create categories, everyone could enter anything. So we have to make sure that this one is unique. That is something that we have to keep in mind for the future.
Good point.
Okay, so now we have the recipe name hero here. And now we have to give that recipe name inside of our category screen, right? When we transfer it, where we create it. Where is it? The page up. The next live event will be next week on Wednesday is the plan. Or maybe on the weekend I will do maybe a solo project or something. I'm not sure yet.
But with this project, our plan is to do every Wednesday 2 hours live stream and live coding.
Yeah, exactly. So we begin usually at 3 Europe time. So I don't know what that is. I think in India it's 4.
I
if
don't
I'm
know.
not sure. Something like that. Yep.
Okay, Max. So
But
where's
now
the text?
we have the naming here that we have to pass by into our category screen, right? Because we need now the hero tag inside of that category screen. So I will just give it a weird name like tag name for now, and create local variable. No, I wanted to create a constructor for that. Yes, something like that. And now we have access to final tag name.
It's gonna be a string.
Yes, a string. And this is this.tag name. And now we have the option. First, we can change this here to this tag name because it is the same. And I think the naming is here bad. So maybe it is the category name. Voila. Please do the refactor. And now we surround this text with a hero.
Animation. Yeah.
And we give that also a tag, which will be the category name at the moment. Okay. So, and this should already work, right? But to make it a bit more beautiful, what I want to have is to make that a headline again. You see, I'm getting faster because the time is precious.
Okay, we need the text.
Theme.off context text theme dot headline.
5 was it?
5 was it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Something like that. We get an error somewhere, so the dart category name. Yes, because that is a named parameter, right? So what do we have here? This category name, that should be a named parameter. So I made this curly brackets that it's named. And now we have the category name, which is the category name. No, it is this one actually. I don't need to use it in 14 and 15. I do not.
This is a tag and the other one is the text.
Yeah, I think
the tag is for our hero animation.
yes.
And the text is, the category name is the text.
Yeah, as you can see now, the text here is flying around, and even what you can see, it's getting red if it's navigating back. So that is because the hero animation don't know the element inside. And I think you found a cool solution for that. We have to wrap the text
in a material
widget, right?
Yeah.
So with that,
I don't know if it's the best solution or not, but it'll work.
So, and if we go back, it sticks in a red part.
Yeah.
Cool. So the hero animation is also in place, and we can maybe center that it looks a bit more fashionable at the moment. But I think we have a pretty good starting point for the next week.
Can you click probably in another?
Sure. Oh, it's still red, so we have to double check that.
I think you should wrap the text.
Also in the wave border card?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Also in the destination where you use it.
So also here we have a material. Okay, so let's... but you can see now we have a white border. But we have to check that. But now if we take, for example, the beef, we have a flying beef.
Our beef is flying.
Perfect.
Yeah, it works somehow fancy. We need some improvement, but for now I think it's good enough.
Okay, so let's wrap it up for today. What did we have done? We created our categories part with the horizontal scroll possibility with the list view. We added the hero animation and the page transition.
Yes.
And we implemented the
provider page.
That's pretty cool, I think, for today.
Yes, and probably next time we will go further with the SQFlight.
Exactly, SQFlight, we want to reach data, we want to get there an improvement, and maybe can use the navigation a bit more and improve, of course, that material part that we have here, because it doesn't look that good at the moment. Okay. Yes. So thank you very much for joining us today. It was a great adventure. Thank you, Amish. Thank you, everyone who was participating. It was a great journey with you. Until next week, I think, right?
Yes, and don't forget to give a like and subscribe to our button. It's our channel.
Good.
Have a great day. See you guys.